Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Subpar Poddy C. Officially, unofficially, the best podcast on the internet. We are joined today by Ryan Doomsee Graham. That's the intro.
You would have thought.
It's a good intro. That's strong. And we are going to be discussing, I think, and I think a lot of people are joining me with this, the biggest news we have had in Rocket League ever?
I think this is the biggest news in Rocket League history, yeah. I don't think anything that's ever happened in Rocket League is bigger than Splice getting relegated from the NA.
So this is all about Splice getting unfortunately relegated. No, we're going to be talking about, of course, the Epic Games acquisition of Psyonix.
Part of the Epic family.
They are part of the Epic family. So they did a big old blog post saying Psyonix is joining the Epic family. That's quite a nice sort of title to it as well. The Epic family, which is quite sweet.
That's what they used to call my family.
Used to?
Yeah, until the incident. And now it's the broken family.
Your dad and his affiliation with heroin.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, no, he is well into it. And basically, they were just saying they're officially joining the Epic Games family. What's it going to mean for Rocket League and all that stuff? So we're going to go through it, give our thoughts, and also read what Reddit had to say, which I'm looking forward to. I'm excited to see what Reddit had to say. So, Ryan, first of all, you and Cole actually have both been playing Rocket League since the very start, and obviously you both played SART, BC, and all that jazz. How does this news hit you guys, going from Psyonix, such a tiny company, to then it being bought out and grabbed up and nibbled up by literally fucking Epic Games?
Well, the thing is, so the Unreal Engine which Rocket League is made on is made from Epic Games, and Psyonix got their start before Rocket League and even Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket Battle Cars through through doing like custom
Gears
mods
of War
for Unreal
maps,
Tournament. Yeah, Gears of War. They worked on they did like sort of like little side editions through other games with Epic rather than making their own fully like fledged games. So like, of all the companies to buy Psyonix, like Epic Games kind of makes sense, and they do have a history together anyway.
Psyonix made the entire online mode for a game called Nosgoth, which I'm pretty sure got
I remember that game.
nuked after about 3 months.
Yeah,
I can't remember who made that. That wasn't Epic, was it? That wasn't an Epic thing.
I remember seeing the Ogscast play that, and it looked quite good. It was like the vampire-y game, right?
Yeah.
And like sort of mythical beasts and shit. It looked quite good.
It was quite fun. I played it for a little bit. It, had its moments, but yeah. I mean, it was fun, but like it's I don't think it would have a following enough to. It wasn't a surprise that it sort of died after a few months. But they also did Bulletstorm as well, Psyonix.
Oh,
Bulletstorm! They did the multiplayer for Bulletstorm.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did they develop that, or were they just like sort of helping out?
They just helped. Yeah, they helped out with it. They did the multiplayer part of it. They loved doing multiplayer stuff for things. Loved it. Couldn't get enough of it.
Epic. Yeah, companies go to them just say, "Can we have a multiplayer?"
Who do we go to?
Okay, so yeah, Fisho Kid was saying, he put a tweet on Twitter, obviously, saying, Epic Games, and like little asterisks, has still a relationship with Psyonix going back 15 years and are essentially the reason Psyonix and Rocket League exist as we know it today. Psyonix PR doesn't mention any of that. Also, Psyonix PR goes straight into damage control on the very first announcement post, which is exactly what they did. Like, it sort of read as if they knew. They went on the defensive, which was weird. Like, they seemed to be like, look, we know it's not going to go down well because Epic Games... If you guys listen to this podcast, you know why Epic Games has probably got a bit of a bad rep. I don't personally care. I think they're all right. Basically, they are buying games and making them Epic Games Store exclusives and taking them off Steam, or buying a year's worth of exclusivity on a game's release, such as Metro and some other games like that, which I don't personally mind because it's not behind a paywall. But I appreciate other people have different ideas about how exclusive that is. I don't know if, Ryan, you've got many opinions on Epic as a whole.
Well, I don't know about Epic as a whole, but the idea of buying games and like making them exclusive, I despise vehemently. I absolutely hate it. It's the same argument as like streaming services, where basically, I mean, at the start it was just Steam, right? It was only Steam, but then you'd have games, like there'll be other launches for their own games. So obviously, like for League of Legends, it's only Riot. They have their launcher, and then Blizzard would have their launcher, but it's only for games they've made. So I kind of I understand that, and I think that's fine. But like the same way as streaming services, more and more streaming services are coming out, and like game launchers are coming out, but they're like trying to buy the rights they're trying to buy exclusive rights to games or films and TV. And so basically, instead of having like a system where like, let's say new phones come out, right? You can't like buy the exclusive right to text message or make a phone call. It doesn't work like that. So basically, phone companies are making like more innovative designs to try or like try to make things slightly cheaper to try and obviously entice more people to buy it. So basically, people just buy one phone and they pick the phone they like best. So companies have to try to fight to make the best phone. Whereas with this, you have to buy like 6-7 different streaming services or like use 7 different game launches just to play the games you want, which is ridiculous. So it doesn't really work.
You shared a video, Doomsee, where you said the same thing was happening with Netflix, right? And was going to happen with these video streaming services. Is that already happening? I didn't have time to watch that video. So is that already happening, or is that a theory or something that?
No, that's already happening. Like, you know how, like, because now Disney are releasing their streaming services, right?
Yeah.
And so now all Disney stuff owned copyright is now taken off Netflix and is now going to Disney like stream sites. Obviously, like Amazon Prime, Amazon will like buy up the rights to something, and then Netflix won't be able to have it. So you can't. It's very rare that something you can watch on Netflix and Amazon or like and Disney as well. I mean, like HBO have their services, but like it's pretty much.
HBO have also got your Game of Thrones and stuff on there. Like to watch that when we're in America, we had to go on like HBO Go and then sign up for the free trial to then be able to watch it.
Was it not on Hulu?
Yeah.
I didn't realise that.
No, it didn't work with Hulu. I think it was meant to, but it just didn't when we tried it.
The same way with game launches, like Blizzard, right? All their games are their launcher. All their games is games that they've actually made. Same with like I don't know how much is on HBO, but like obviously like, the big one is Game of Thrones, but HBO made Game of Thrones. So like I feel like it's fine to have exclusivity if you made it yourself, because it doesn't really entice you to buy out other things. It's more enticing you to make your own things.
So I think I understand that argument. I get where you're coming from, but my thought is because there is an increased revenue split between Epic and the developer compared to Steam and the developer. So Steam, they have a 70-30 split. So the developer takes 70% of the profits from their game. Say they spend a tenner on it, they get the developer gets £7, and then Steam they get £3. That's how that works. For the Epic Game Store, if you use the if you use the Unreal Engine, you then keep 88% of the revenue from your game, which then means that you are on like £8.80 of the £10 that people are buying. Okay. And then that means that then Epic take £1.20 of that £10. So it makes sense, and I do get that, and it is ultimately benefiting the developer a lot more. Sort of having that revenue split. And one argument that does annoy me at the moment about the Epic Game Store is people saying, oh, there's no features. There's no features in there at the moment that make me switch over. And a lot of people have said, well, yeah, there's no excuse for that. And it's like, but it's still early on. It's still early on in the program's life cycle.
It's still early on, but the problem is they're trying to... And I don't think that strongly personally about this stuff, but I think
Me either.
The reason that people could be perturbed by that is that while it's still early on, and while it's still essentially in beta, they're already trying to get exclusivity. It's one thing to spend a few years building up your product and then go aggressive once it's ready to actually compete. But there's no way that this Epic Game Store competes with Steam in its current state, and they are still trying to get exclusivity. That means that the end user gets absolutely no win there that I can see at all.
I imagine the... what the benefit is of them getting it early is that now they know that Fortnite money right now is not running out. That is an infinite well as of the moment. They are trying to, I imagine, strike while the iron is hot. They want to think, okay, we have this money now. Before we fuck everything up, which we might do, let's make sure that we at least have a go at getting the Epic Game Store so we have something else aside from just Fortnite. So sort of redistributing that revenue and that profit into a completely different service. And I get that. I like that there's competition coming out, even if it's not as good as Steam, which it isn't fundamentally. Nobody is saying that, yeah, it's better than Steam or it's as good as Steam. It has very little functionality compared to Steam. But I still think it's early. And I think this money that's going into it and the games that are bought on that platform then mean that you're going to be getting more functionality for the next few years. So I'm not bothered in any way, to be honest.
What you've said is one of the main reasons why I think that sort of zooming out a little bit and looking at this more generally, I think this is a good thing. Epic, you know, they're looking for more, not cash cows, but they've got a business mind, right? They can see a good thing when it's in front of them. They would not have come to Psyonix to offer to purchase them or to, put their finger on the Rocket League pie or whatever it is. We don't know the full business.
A very small little pie, little crumpet.
Their crumpet, yeah. Basically, what I'm saying is that if Epic have invested in Rocket League, they can see big fucking things for this game. They would not have even considered it if they didn't think it was going to be worth billions upon billions of dollars. Now, the question is, are they going to make that money in the right way, in inverted commas? Are they going to chuck in a bunch of shit that negatively affects we, the hardcore, and we all are the hardcore? Or are they going to do it in the right way that means that everyone benefits? So one, there is new content and there is new tat, which I always call it, hats and fucking shit like that. But there's also more money in esports, so that becomes more profitable. And there's also adverts on primetime telly, so the game gets more players in the good way. That's the key risk. One way or another, Rocket League is going to grow with this purchase. I can't see any other reason that Epic would have spoken to Psyonix. The question I think we have to ask ourselves is, are they going to do it in the right way? And I think that's a much more interesting conversation, personally, than to what extent is Rocket League going to change? Because I think that's guaranteed.
Yeah, I think that there's not going to be any gameplay differences. That's going to stay the same. If they fuck with that, then they just won't. They just straight up won't fuck with that because they know that they can't. It's such a fine-tuned game that fucking with the gravity by 2%. Is going to ruin everything.
That's not going to happen. They wouldn't try and do that either. But Doomsee,
I seem a bit worried about that as well.
We were speaking on Facebook yesterday, Doomsee, and you were saying that in your mind, it's not going to be as big a deal as everyone thinks. After sleeping on it, do you still feel that way?
Yeah, I actually just think nothing really is going to change. I don't know why. I think the main thing is, I mean, like we just said, nothing fundamentally about the game is going to change, like physics and stuff. Because I think like one of the big reasons Epic bought out Psyonix is probably because Rocket League is like as a core game is so good, and they think there's potential for it. Yeah. So changing with it is pointless because that's not what they want to do. I do think it is more about they want to I think they will throw a bunch of money at it, but then that's the question of will it? Because obviously Psyonix are known for being very slow and steady with how they run things. Yes. And Epic are like, here's $100 million in Fortnite. And we're like, okay, what? It's like the
dabs.
It's like the two ends of the spectrum, right? So I'm hoping there'll be some sort of middle ground, because if there's kinds of money that is thrown at Fortnite gets thrown at Rocket League, it will just overinflate and it will just burst and it will be terrible, I think. So it may grow for a bit, but then it will sort of crumble and crash. Okay, so the reason why I don't think it will do that, make much of a difference, is just because I don't think Rocket League is as big as it could be in terms of viewership or player base.
Agreed.
Is because of money. I think it's just the fundamental. I think it's just the game itself. Now the game itself is amazing, but I don't think it's I just don't think it's the type of game that will have millions of players at a given moment. I just think it's a bit more niche than that. Everyone has heard of Rocket League. It's one of those games where I've just seen people who, even if they may have played it a couple of times, but they know of Rocket League. It's just one of those all-time classics now. But the reason why they don't play it as much is just because it's just not for them. It's just not for everyone. I don't think it's a big niche, I would say. And I think, especially as viewing it as an esport, I think it's great to watch as an esport, but I think there's just. Again, I think it's a niche esport to watch as well.
It's not got as much there as League of Legends or something, where you can compare it to, firstly, a different game, and also you can pick from one of 100 heroes, and then you have to analyze that. Yeah. There's not much to analyze in Rocket League. When you look at other esports, there's very little to look at, and I think that can be very good at an entry level, because we've always said it. It's the perfect esport in the way that you can get into it straight away. You can look at it and say, oh, that blue person is trying to hit it into that orange net. Perfect. And you've then, at that point, you have figured out the game, the aim, what they're trying to do. You've just figured out everything. The only difference is, what is much more past that, aside from mechanics? And then once you've figured out those mechanics, which are all essentially player-generated, where do you go from there? And you can't really have too much of buffs and nerfs as you have from Overwatch, or you have from League or CSGO or anything. You've not got an economy to manage. It's quite interesting, I guess, apart from Boost. You've not really got as much depth to it, which I think lends itself well to a normal esport and a fairly relatively entry level. But you're going to lack people who are really heavily into their quite intense esports.
It's funny because there's a huge jump in the amount of tactics and theory that you can see going on. Because you show Gregan, the Reno Vitality coach, a Rocket League replay, and he'll be able to tell you every decision that the players have made and why, right? So say, oh, this is quite a defensive play, that's why he turned back to a goal here instead of committing to the ball, right? Mm-hmm. But he's right at the top of Rocket League analysis. And then right at the bottom is, as you mentioned, a new player who sees ball going into goal. It's weird that Rocket League doesn't really have a middle ground of someone who can sort of see what's going on, because the tactics are so finely tuned. They're not you can't play attacking or play defensive in general as a team. What you can do is play one moment a little bit more defensively, and that's a lot harder to see, right? So it goes straight from 0% knowledge all the way up to 95% knowledge, to an extent that I can't hear any other esport.
I mean, I think I disagree with that. I think there's a lot. I think actually it might be. I think there's a lot of people who are in the middle. I think, like, obviously, I think most people are in the middle.
Before we get into discussing too much of Rocket League as an esport generally, let's stick with the Epic. Let's stick with them being having bought it, and let's have a go at Reddit. Should we see what Reddit had to say? Because my God, people were annoyed. People were like well aggy about this. They were. Is
this
livid.
on eSports or Rocket League?
This is on Rocket League, on PC Gaming, on r/Rocket League Esports, on Twitter.
Oh, all of them.
Yeah, just everywhere, like the whole reaction.
I've got a little a true or false for you guys. True or false was the post on r/Rocket League, Psyonix joining the Epic family, was that cross-posted to r/subreddit drama?
Oh my God.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
I'm going to guess true.
Yes. Yeah, if you're asking that.
It was indeed. So there's been a lot of brigading. People are people like whacking their comments in. A few of the comments that I quite liked that I'd like to discuss are one near the top on the Rocket League post was from a guy called Cheeky Naked Oompa Loomp
Top name.
Very good name. Congrats, you're no longer an indie dev that needs my financial support and advocacy.
That's cute.
That's interesting because I find it weird that you are considering Rocket League at this point to still be Psyonix rather, to be an indie dev that needs your financial support.
I find it weird that it's like he's giving to charity. Yeah, like, oh, these Psyonix guys, they really need my money, but Epic don't. So I don't care if I prefer the game of Fortnite. I'm gonna play Rocket League. Oh no, I can't play that now either. Oh shit.
Well, what's that got to do with playing the game? How big a company?
I don't know.
Is?
Yeah, people are saying that they're not going to play the game anymore.
How many
somebody
upvotes
said
did that get?
1,643.
People were like, yeah, great point. Wow, okay.
Somebody else called Clutch Hunter. We're not going to have a go at Reddit all the time, don't worry about it. But Clutch Hunter, a champ 3, may I add, has said, I now regret buying the Rocket Pass.
Classic
I don't know why. I don't know why you would regret buying the Rocket Pass.
Did he explain
why? Well, for the reason that the Rocket Pass is something that you have chosen to buy that affects your gameplay, so the base level of gameplay, precisely nil. Yeah. But it adds something on top. It doesn't change the base, it just adds to it. It adds cream to the pie. So I don't understand why he regrets it when ultimately he's going to keep playing the game, I imagine. He's a champ 3. And he's going to continue spamming WoW in 15 online games.
Oh, what to do is challenge or whatever.
Yeah.
Again, I don't see what he's trying to do. People are so fucking moral with their money. I mean, I get it if it's like Nestle and they rape a chimpanzee or whatever. Like, fine, don't buy from them. But when it's Epic and they put too many hats in the game that you don't play, so it's like, oh, why would I buy anything from them, even if I think it's fun? I don't get that, because the company ultimately doesn't care unless there's billions of people that are doing the same thing.
Which, fair enough, if that is then a big thing, if it isn't a big thing and there's a big old wave of people who then, or I guess next season or whatever, they then don't buy the Rocket Pass, say it goes down to 10% of the original, or even half as much of the Rocket Pass 3 amount, then that's when they ask questions. And that's when they think, okay, we might have fucked up here, let's try and bring it back, let's see what we can do. And I love that people are having that idea, I just don't think that's the right way to do it personally.
Well, it's like when people, if you're recycling or something, I mean, me recycling is going to make negligible difference on the world, right? Yeah. But I'm still recycled because, like,
Because you're hoping that you are part of a billion people.
I guess it's Cole's logic for voting, right?
Yeah, all right, let's not get into that. Let's not get into that. I'm not very good at seeing people power, but like that, that's fair enough. I know that. I guess what my point is the fact that I don't see what him saying that adds, because I guess all he said is the end product. He hasn't explained his reasoning. He hasn't said what he's trying to achieve with that. He hasn't said why. He hasn't really said fundamentally what's made him come to the decision that he no longer wishes to support Psyonix. I think that's what's pissing me off. Him saying, "Oh well, I'll take away my £5 a month." Then it's like, okay.
I think we need to know exactly why he's annoyed, because I think there's a lot of different arguments why people are annoyed. Like I think this Epic exclusivity is probably the biggest one. But they still haven't clarified on that. Like Rocket League's still a bit like Psyonix.
All they've said so far is that it will continue to be supported on Steam. And even in our Discord, we've had different definitions of what that means. I personally think that means they're going to continue doing what they've done with other games that they have purchased. And they've said, okay, we're going to have, say, timed exclusivity on the Epic Store. But if you then buy it on Steam, or you bought it on Steam previously, or whatever, you still get all following DLC available to you on Steam. I believe that is what they're going to be doing with Rocket League. However, we've also never seen an entire studio get bought before. So I don't know if that's going to change things, because then suddenly they're more personally invested in the full big picture of Psyonix, not just Rocket League as a title. So I don't necessarily know what their plan is going to be for that. I did DM somebody from Psyonix who has not replied to me yet, trying to get a little bit of clarification on that. So I'll basically see what happens with that. But I think personally, we're going to get DLC on Steam as well.
I mean, I hope so, because I mean,
if we don't, it's an issue.
It'll be a bit of an issue, because now we'll be split and it'll be very awful. Like, I've got so much DLC on Steam, it's ludicrous.
Yeah.
But you were saying about how we haven't seen a company be bought out before. Wasn't Blizzard bought out by Activision?
Oh no, sorry, I mean by Epic.
Oh, by Epic. Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, because Epic they seem to be sort of their own little branch of hatred on the internet. So I guess Blizzard, Activision, they've got their own thing. I was going to say earlier when you said about the Blizzard client as well, Battle.net. You've also then got like Destiny and stuff.
Yeah. Because didn't that have like when it bought out by Activision, didn't things go downhill a little bit? I think actually,
they had people left.
I think the biggest issue was Activision were like pushing Blizzard to work harder than they needed to.
Yeah, probably.
Which actually is kind of worrying now, because I mean I really don't know much about Epic, but from what the little I've read anyway, I've not heard positive things about the work environment at Epic Games.
100-hour working weeks and stuff.
And Psyonix Art is going to lose his beard.
If they push that onto Psyonix, I mean things might not be amazing.
Well, I think that I trust Psyonix for all the insults we chuck at them and all the frustrations we have.
Yeah,
I trust them not to. Yeah, there are a fuckload. I trust them not to rush into any situation at all. That's not their problem. Is going into things giddily and without thinking every avenue through.
Yeah, how much control would they have over
87 trillion meetings about every single detail down to the finest of points. And what would have come up was what you guys were talking about. They won't be. If there's anything negative, it'll be because Epic are pulling the rug out from underneath Psyonix rather than because Psyonix haven't considered it.
I think they've got a lot of money they can put in the right places as well. So if, like we said before about the whole pushing the eSports side of things, people have a go at Fortnite eSports. I don't personally like it. I don't enjoy it. I don't like Battle Royale games generally, and I don't like Battle Royale eSports. That's my stance. I think we're all typically agreed on that. I know, Ryan, you don't like BRs, and Cole, you're not super into them.
Don't like it. You know where the door is.
Yeah, you know the door is. I know what I know, and I know it.
We're all thinking it. We're all thinking
it. So, Cole, bleep this. So my thought is, if they have got all this money to put into the esports side of things, they know how to attract viewership. They know how to get essentially the biggest game of the decade going. Yep. And they know how to market something. And that's something that Rocket League at times has struggled with. It's struggled with marketing, where they put out something brilliant, it's amazing, and you can put all your MLB flags on your car, and it's fantastic, and everyone loves it, but nobody knows that it's fucking happening. Or it gets stuck in the little corner of the internet that is r/Rocket League and r/Rocket League eSports, and maybe a blog post and a tweet. And you don't get much.
Or they time it 2 weeks before the NA-RLCS announcement, so people use it as a stick to beat Psyonix with, as a pro-NA, anti-EU thing. Well, actually, it's just a pro-NA thing. It's not an anti-anything thing. But that all comes down to marketing, as you say.
There's another Reddit comment we can have a look at. It's a two-parter. The first one is from Wormus. 1,404 points. Wow, ellipsis, I'm, ellipsis, stunned, full stop. I have a hard time believing this is good, in quotes, for me, the player. And a reply to that by Cola-Up. I don't see this working out well. Edit, fuck you, Epic.
Wow.
Get out of here. Nobody likes your store or client. First, it's buying games. Now you're buying developers. What's next? You're going to buy game clients now? Now, this is a lot to dissect. And Cola-Up is an angry person.
Yeah,
he doesn't see it working out well, but hasn't explained why. I think that's going to be the issue with all of these Reddit comments that we see, by the way.
That's what's bugging me. That's why I'm personally against them, yeah.
Yeah, nobody explains what the issue is. In Discord, I had a good conversation with a guy called Midders, and he explained his position very well. We disagree fundamentally, but he explained his position very well. And there's other people I spoke to and said, oh, historically, this hasn't happened. And they said, oh, no, but it might do. And it's like, but you can't be annoyed at that, because that's not something that has ever happened, and it probably won't happen. If it does, then you have a right to be annoyed. But you putting the straw man in your head and then being pissed off at the straw man you've created is not a valid argument or something to beat Psyonix with.
If you're coming out with statements like that, statements that are that toxic, that strong, you have to explain your reasons why. You have to say it's because of X. Because I'm listening to that and I'm thinking maybe it's because of the 100-hour work weeks that are being reported on. Maybe fair enough. Maybe it's because the Epic Game Launcher has got some questionable security issues. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's all of it. Maybe it's none of it. I don't know. And because I don't know what he's getting at, I can't have any emotional resonance to his opinion.
I'll tell you what it is, right? I think I think nowadays, I don't know if this has always been the case, but like I think most of the time, whenever any like news comes out or anything that can have an opinion on, people are very rarely sort of in the middle thinking like, oh, it's all right. It's most of the time people are either like, I love this thing or I hate this thing. And if there's a slight lean to
at least.
Yeah, everything's so binary nowadays. If anyone slightly leans towards like, if someone has a slight negative opinion about Epic Games, rather than being like, oh, this is who knows how this is going to be. I know it may be a bit bad, but we'll have to wait and see because we don't have enough information on what this is going to be like. It's basically, I have a little bit of a negative opinion on Epic Games. Therefore, oh my god, I hate this news so much. This is the worst thing since Marmite and chocolate. So like, it's
there's a guy.
There's never a middle ground.
Supports your argument with that, Ryan. A guy called Balls in My Mouth 33. Whose comment, you can carry on in a second, but his comment is simply, why does everything I love fucking turn to shit? So Balls in My Mouth 33, I think, is basically on your side there, or on that sort of wavelength of that thought where he doesn't like Epic, and now everything is shit and bad. But also, I've got him tagged. I've got an extension where it tags people from like troublesome subreddits, and he does use r/thedonald. So...
Fair enough.
So that's your market, Doomsee.
Yeah, all Donald Trump supporters are the worst,
Yeah. There's a few red tags in this thread.
My goodness, but yeah, it's the thing is none of us. This is one of those pieces of news where none of us can really, like you said, it's either going to be probably bad or good or somewhere in the middle. Like there's no way we can tell.
Nothing will change.
Or nothing will change. Like everything. Like it's so hard to tell how this is going to happen. And so I think
we're going to see nothing change. We're just going to see more money put into it. And maybe there's going to be more experimentation, which holy fuck we've been crying for years.
I mean, that's fair. The fact that Epic, I'm actually in support of this idea, just for the fact that I think we all want to change. So like, regardless at this point, I'm like, you know what, Epic, buy out Psyonix. Let's see what happens because I want something to change.
Even if Rocket League dies, at least it's different.
Yeah. That's exactly it. At
least they tried.
We did something, didn't we?
I know you guys are exaggerating, but I think that for a long time, I felt that Rocket League was trundling along. Not a lot was going to change. There was never going to be an EU RLCS studio. RLCS were going to keep around the $1 million mark and just being the same thing season after season. They're going to be the same old complaints. There won't be any new additions to the game. Content creators wouldn't have anything new to put on YouTube. All of that. I'd given up on Rocket League really sort of moving the goalposts in a fun way while obviously keeping its core esports scene going separately to that. Coming out of a new drop shot, coming out of the new hoops. Whereas now, last night, I was thinking about what could happen, thinking about what Epic could add, thinking about the potential that this move has to add so much to the game. I guarantee you there are devs at Psyonix that are coming to their seniors saying, how about this idea? How about that idea? How about a volleyball mode? And they're always just told, no, we can't do it. We don't have the time. We don't have the manpower. Whereas now, that manpower, those money/time issues, maybe now will go away. And suddenly we're going to see a game that is living and breathing because it had become stale, in my opinion. It had become a stale game. And Epic, probably the best in the business, sometimes too much because they're esports, but probably the best in the business at tinkering normally in an enjoyable way with their game, because Fortnite has had so many great updates. They've sort of fucked it up a little bit recently, and I hope they fix that. And actually, to be fair, their response to fixing that hasn't been ideal, but that's a separate discussion. Because what I'm talking about now is the fact that they're not afraid to mix up what's working and change that formula.
And they have the money to take the risks.
Exactly.
The risks that they do seem to be taking in Fortnite are pretty fantastic on the casual level, at least. And that's how you get your player numbers, and that's how you get your viewer numbers, is by getting that casual viewer base, or that casual player base or viewer base up. If more people are playing it at the lower levels, it means that then they're going to be tuning in. They're going to open up the game one day on the and see on the homepage RLCS is on. They're like, what the fuck is RLCS? Then little Sam goes to the World Championships and all that stuff.
Yeah. The one thing, the biggest positive I have for this acquisition is that Epic Games they update Fortnite so much and they always change things. So if they can bring that into Rocket League, I think that would be probably the biggest plus, because it's quite stale, to be honest with you.
I'm basically just excited to see what they're going to do. See what ideas they've ultimately had. Somewhere in a boardroom, they've discussed what they would want to do with Rocket League, and then they've approached Psyonix and said, can we buy you, lol? And Psyonix are like, fucking yeah, let's go. Dave needs some more mansions.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just excited. I think that's the main take. I think we all are. We're excited to see what ends up happening with this buyout. People are going to be annoyed, and there are very valid reasons for people to be annoyed. So people are saying as well, rip Linux users. Completely fair. That's an issue. I mean, sort of, because you can still play it on Steam. But it's an issue if you want to, if you haven't, say, bought the game, and then you want to buy it after the end of 2019, and you're a Linux user, and you can't do that. But at the same time, Linux is an incredibly tiny little slice of any gaming / PC using pie that I don't think it's necessarily worth considering.
I think it's worth considering because it's something that works today, and to have it go from working to broken is a problem. But I think the fact that this isn't even happening until the end of 2019, right? This changeover, and that seems to be the biggest point of contention, the Epic Games Store, which is fair enough, the EGS. That's in such a long time. That's still 7 months away. So who knows what updates the Epic Games Store will have before even Rocket League has stopped being sold on Steam.
Maybe this will make them change it, because Rocket League is probably one of the biggest games they could bring out to the store. So maybe by having this, they're going to...
it's one of Steam's most profitable games. It's been... I saw, those online lists where it shows the top 10 over the course of 7 years or whatever. So it was the most played... it was the most played Steam games, and I watched it from 2012, and then 2015. Yeah, that's it. Concurrent users. 2015, Rocket League popped into the top 10. I was like, hey, it's Rocket League. I wonder how long that lasted. And it was just there the whole time. It never left. Between 2015 and 2019, it's always been in the top 10 of Steam users. So this is no small acquisition. Rocket League are going to have their own... Psyonix are going to have their own power with Epic, because Rocket League is not some small game.
Mm-hmm.
I think we don't appreciate that sometimes, how big it is.
No, that's true. I mean, if you look at it now, it's probably not 7th on the Steam charts, in 7th place. And a lot of games keep coming in and going ahead of it, but then they die and go below it, and it just keeps doing that.
Yeah.
But Rocket League's pretty constant.
11th.
Yeah, but it's above Civ 6, above Gary's mod, above Rust, above Euro Truck 2. And then it's just below Monster Hunter World and Football Manager 2019.
Mate, Football Manager always doesn't.
Yeah. I don't understand it.
No, it's pretty fun. I'll teach you.
Because if you make a new game each year, it probably
yeah,
it would do quite well.
But
yeah, I think Rocket League's just been stable for ages now in terms of it. When it has its peaks in when there's a little bit of an event going on, but then it's basically just been at 28,000, 30,000 Steam concurrent players, and it's just literally sticks there. So you know what? If Epic can boost it up, we'll see. Maybe it will come crashing down. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what the worst case scenario of this is. The worst case scenario, they are not going to impact gameplay. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's out of the question.
They're not going to chuck anti-gravity mode in esports. They're just not going to get involved in that at all. I don't know what the worst case scenario here is.
Worst case scenario,
a massive data leak with the Epic Games Store?
Worst case scenario, I think, would probably be is if they made it, at the end of the year, it's fully Epic Store exclusive, and if you bought it on Steam before that, you're fine, because that's going to happen. That's a thing. You're going to be fine if you bought it on Steam previously. Then the worst thing they could do after that is then DLC is only available on Epic, and say there's going to be exclusivity with the Rocket Pass. That's another thought, where they're going to have like a 1 month head start for the Rocket Pass, or 1 week head start, or however long they last, for the Rocket Pass 4 when it comes out on Epic. And stuff like that, where it's timed exclusivity of in-game items and in-game things, or say there's in-game new game modes, and then they're only available to Epic users for the first week or two. That would be pretty terrible.
I think to further that, I'm trying to think of a way like player base and viewership can just come crashing down.
Yeah, I can't either.
If they, I don't know if they're like, there's a way they can influence the esports of Rocket League enough that it just kind of messes up. Honestly, like
overinflation, I think.
I don't want to.
Earlier.
Yeah, I don't want to slate Rocket League esports like too much, but I think it's a type of esport. It's kind of hard to like change it drastically. So therefore, I think it's hard to really increase the viewership or decrease it. So I think sort of you might as well do any change. And I don't think a massive amount will be affected by it, which is kind of good and bad in a way.
I'm probably going to be watching it regardless.
Yeah.
Like, realistically, I think I'm the same as a lot of people there. I'm going to be watching it regardless if it's shit or if it's brilliant. I'm just sort of there.
I mean, how can it be bad? Like, because if you're not changing the game, then what's like?
Because that's how it can be bad. It can get stale.
But I mean, I think it sort of already is in a way. Like, it hasn't really changed much. But at the same time, I struggle to think of how you can really change it that much.
I mean, this is a different conversation.
It is.
We're in danger of going on to the Rocket League esports chat again.
Okay, mate. We're edgy, but if we relate it to what can Epic, if we relate it to like what can Epic do to like completely change it, I can't really think of that much.
Let's think of what Epic can do that previously Psyonix wouldn't have been able to.
Different format tournaments.
Exactly, yeah. Different
2v2s, 1v1s.
Oh, actually, that'd be nice. EU
all
Studios.
A ton of money. EU Studios.
Basically, everything has to do with money.
First thought. Exactly. None of that was possible before, whereas now it is at least possible. Dead dream.
Regional LANs for the playoffs.
Or league play LANs.
As a start, and not league play ideally, but even just a start, just the playoffs would be fantastic. Because right now, so many issues that come from Psyonix into Rocket League are to do with money. They just don't have the money, or at least they say they don't have the money.
I think it's either that or they don't want to spend.
Or they don't want to spend. Because
they're careful.
They're basically squirreling it away in case it all goes tits up. But in that case, they're then basically making the game go tits up.
Oh, hey, here's another thing Epic can do. Actually, here's potential bad. Keemstar. Keemstar at the start of Fortnite. I know. Keemstar at the start of Fortnite did those Fortnite Friday tournaments or whatever, where every Friday he'd put $10,000 on the line in a third-party tournament. Obviously, it's third-party because he's not with Epic. Epic said, after a few months of him doing that, once they announced the Summer Skirmish, they put a really, really small cap on third-party tournaments, so that was back in like early 2018. And that existed
like 10 grand
until,
or something, right?
Yeah, I think it was smaller than that. And that existed until the Katowice Royale, which I believe was early 2019. So for an entire year, no real third-party Fortnite tournaments happened. It was only first-party. Now, that is a worry, because Psyonix are already very nervous about many different tournament organisers trying to run tournaments in their game and being turned down by lots of weird rules. So if they and Epic get into a conversation and they both sort of they both exaggerate each other's fear of third-party tournaments, then we could be sorely lacking for those going into the future. That's a worry.
That's only an issue on Psyonix's part because they weren't doing tournaments as well as RLCS. The reason why it wasn't too bad for Fortnite, IMO, is because they were doing the Summer Skirmish, then they immediately did the Fall Skirmish, then they immediately did Winter Royale, then they immediately did the Spring thing.
They're open
tournaments, they are doing... regardless though, they're still doing huge tournaments, and there's stuff going on literally every single week of the year. Whereas with Psyonix, they had RLCS, and every 6 months you could try and get into RLRS, and if you didn't, you're shit out of luck for half a year. That's that key difference where I don't think it's too much of an issue.
Because what I'm saying is that all these Fortnite tournaments were open. Anybody could enter, so you'd enter based on your own skill. It wasn't a closed shop. Whereas if Psyonix did this with RLCS, RLRS, and a few other things... What I'm saying is we'd need a lot more open tournaments like DreamHacks, which, to be fair, DreamHacks are a good start.
Yeah, it seems like it's starting that, yeah.
Yeah, if the official tournament-only rule does rear its ugly head, and I do think it is an ugly head, because I love third-party tournaments. I think they're brilliant and so important. Then more and more of them need to be open and LANs. So it can work.
Actually, it wouldn't, because they have that partnership with E-League, don't they?
Yeah. Well, they do the marketing. At least E-League do marketing.
Right.
I don't know what their plans are in terms of tournaments. I imagine they will be doing tournaments, but they haven't.
It's kind of weird.
Any.
Like, no, E-League, no tournaments.
It would be weird.
Just Psyonix only.
It'd be weird. But all they've said so far is that they're managing the marketing side of things. So I don't know if that also means they're going to be doing more tournaments.
E-League doing marketing, Epic Games buying out Psyonix. There's some change.
That's huge.
There's a lot of changes going on.
We were a year too early with our 2019 esports prediction. It was 2020 all along.
Let's just retitle it, release the same video.
That's such a good idea.
So somebody has said, points finger to head, as in like sort of the temple tap. Can't have negative reviews on Steam if you move the game to Epic. And that is in response to the people review bombing the game on Steam, which I think is the most ridiculous thing that could be going. I don't know what that is aiming to do, because you're not reviewing the game, you're reviewing a decision outside the game that hasn't happened yet.
I saw
some
good logic on that from Midders again, who said that the reason people are doing that is because that's the only form of protest people can really make. It's not going to put off, this is his words again, it's not going to put off anybody that is already determined to buy the game, because they'll already see that it's brilliant and they love it and they want to play it. What it is going to do is make people looking at it say, oh, there's business decisions that are going on overhead. Do I want to invest in this title?
I still think it's dumb. I still think it's silly.
That has tainted me a little bit.
But it's the fact that, like Ryan, you said yesterday that it's like when people review an Amazon product because it was delivered late.
That's so stupid.
It seems very similar to that, because it's an external factor.
Maybe, but no, it's true. I think it is. I'm still annoyed by it, but I think there is a slight difference, because obviously with Steam, like that product may go off Steam, right, and you may be affected by it. Whereas reviewing there's so many products that will like have the delivery company is not great or something, and therefore. Like my favorite is when trying to look at movie reviews, try to find a high reviewed movie or like a Blu-ray on Amazon, and you can't. Even like the best films have like 3.5 stars, because when you go on it, it's like, this wasn't in 3D. I wanted a 3D DVD, 1 star, and you're like, it's like The Shawshank Redemption, and you're like, what the hell? So I think that's different, because you're always going to have that on every product more or less, because there's probably going to be some delivery issues, and I think an Amazon review, you want to see how good the product is. And I know it's sort of similar in Steam, and I still disagree with the whole bombing it with reviews, but I do think there is a slight difference. Honestly, my favorite part about this announcement was just the meme replies from in the Twitter thread. It was just the funniest. I loved it so much. So if Rocket League dies because of this, it'll be worth it because of the memes.
The memes have been pretty good. So yeah, I'm looking at some of the pros that ended up replying to it. Because I wonder, Ryan, this is basically where I want your opinion, where it's going from the pro point of view, where people seem to be annoyed. So very high profile people. So G2 JNaps said he wasn't a fan of it. Remco from TSM, he put like a little crying baby. Pluto was annoyed about it, as I did like a little anime reply, which upset me, but I understand. Gimmick from Cloud9, and a few other high-profile people. Killer number 7 is one of the positive ones. He said, "Why is everyone complaining? I'm excited. Let's see what happens." But Ryan, why, or do you think these guys are annoyed on behalf of because they're a pro and it's their livelihood and it's a little bit shaky? Or do you think that's coming from like a fan point of view? Obviously, I know you don't know, but sort of you've got the most insight into it.
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, I think obviously across the board, most people seem to be disappointed from what I've heard. So maybe it's just they just happen to be pros as well, and so by sheer odds, they're more likely to just be like, "Oh, we disagree with it." But yeah, the whole fact that that this is like, if you start messing around with things, that's their job. Obviously, they're going to be like. Ugh. Like the same way Psyonix wouldn't go into this deal without thinking about it heavily first, because obviously it's their livelihood as well, it's their jobs. But I think, I do think a bigger part of it is just the fact that Epic Games, Fortnite, probably some bad news about how Epic Games runs their company, and like the Epic Store. I think that's a big one as well. Just like I think it's easier to see negatives firsthand. Like obviously, when I first heard this deal, the first thing I thought of was the negatives, just because it's easier to see that. Mm-hmm. But if you just really stop and think, there's a lot of positives that could come out of it. And I think Garrett G had the best response, where he was basically like, let's just not jump to conclusion straight away. We have no idea
yeah.
how this is going to go down. It could be really good. It might not be good, but there's no point like thinking it's the worst thing ever before anything's even happened, and like it's like yelling at Psyonix for it.
If you're getting annoyed about half of speculation, you're sort of already fighting a losing battle, because you're, instead of you being neutral and trying to be swayed either towards positive or you get pushed down towards negative. If you start in the negative, you can only be pulled up from that point, and it's really hard to pull somebody out of a negative opinion into a positive opinion. Okay, so I asked a question on Twitter saying, basically, what questions and concerns do you have about the acquisition? We'll answer them in the podcast. So hi, we're on the podcast.
Oh wow, that's quick.
I know, crazy. The first one, which I saw quite a few people questioning in reply to the tweet itself as well, which I didn't really consider at the time, by Snoof MIL, is what is the chance of Rocket League becoming free to play? And I guess I can slightly reword that because we don't know the chance. What do we think of Rocket League going free to play?
It was one of my first thoughts. Yeah, it's one of my first thoughts when I heard about this. The thought of the old free-to-play conversation, which has been bubbling up for a while now, as Rocket League did go into its sort of stagnant mode, and views dropped on Twitch and the YouTube. Apart from a few uploaders, seem to die a little bit. Yeah, we're not one of those few. People have been talking about free-to-play for a long time, and I think that this has dramatically increase the chances of that happening. Obviously, Fortnite is free to play, and that makes an absolute wank ton of cash. I can't see it not happening, right? From here, I can't see free to play Rocket League not happening, and I don't see any way in which it's a bad thing, because you can't wall hack Rocket League, right?
Smurfers?
I can't think of a way. Maybe, yeah, it would affect. I just
don't.
But I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, I think the positives far outweigh the negatives on that side. Like the smurfing thing. I mean, okay, you have like 10 Smurfs. I think most people probably have like 1 or 2 Smurfs, and like having so many Smurfs is a bit pointless. I don't think that many people would do it, and I think I'd rather just have Smurfs in the game than have to like have it cost money. Because I think
10 Smurfs and 1 million new players.
Yeah, exactly, right. I mean, like there's been. I think this is a really good time for it to go free to play, because if Epic come in and it's now free to play, Epic can change a lot of stuff up, and you've got this combination of free to play plus look at all this new content, and maybe Epic will like start driving in all this new like DLC, or like there's probably gonna be loads of microtransactions, but like in-game stuff going on, and they'll be like, oh, look at all this new stuff we've got. Maybe I've got a new game mode, or there's new gear and cars, and everything's awesome, and people will be like, the new game seems cool, because like Epic Games with Fortnite, they obviously advertise like new things all the time, like every week or every day. There's like, oh, look at this new product we've made. We've made this new skin. Yeah. Do that with Rocket League, make it free to play. People, you're bound to draw in a lot of people.
It would be unreal.
But I mean,
it's got the same cartoony appeal as Fortnite as well.
Exactly.
It's a slightly different
crossovers
game.
As well. Put the car in Fortnite, and put the players in Rocket League.
Oh, mate, if you can get Thanos in Fortnite, you can definitely get
so my thought was, as well, in terms of crossover, it's because they have so much reach at the moment with the Fortnite content creators. Fuck me. But imagine seeing Ninja streaming fucking Rocket League, and the viewers he'd pull in for that, and then getting a pro involved, and that then boosts that pro and their team's profile so much.
That's how Rocket League started.
Stuff like that would be amazing. Yeah, exactly. And like you've got, then Ninja was, I don't know if he still is, but he was with Luminosity. That could then push some of these orgs, such as Luminosity, into then getting a team, and then thinking, oh, well then he can play with Ninja. And then they got so much more publicity through that. I think there's going to be amazing publicity, especially when it comes to getting big streamers from Fortnite to be pushed to do it. Again, don't know how much push Epic have with that, but if they do go with it, that would be fan-bloody-tastic.
Yeah, it would be incredible, and that sort of directly feeds into the esports side of things as well, because now you've also got the esports store, hundreds of thousands of new players, all of
Epic
them want to
pushing it
represent
on their
Cloud9.
socials. Yeah. And the Epic account, that's got probably millions of followers.
4 million
imagine.
is my guess.
4 million. Okay, right, let's have a guess. I've got Fortnite and Epic. So Fortnite, how many do you reckon Fortnite has? Out of Fortnite game, how many followers?
9 million.
9 people.
Yeah, 9 people is my guess.
Cheers, at least 10. Higher wins, right?
So we're already a third of it here.
I'd say 2.6 million.
Oh, is it that low?
I'll probably go 3.
Ah, fuck. I might have gone way over.
3 mil. Oh no, Cole, you might have smashed it in all fairness.
Nah,
Cole smashed it. 7.59.
Oh, hey, I smashed it. I was never in doubt.
Way close to Cole.
7.5.
That's a lot. And then Epic, how many do you reckon?
They've got
I'll stick
like
with my
1.6.
Wait, Cole, what did you say?
I'll stick with my 4 that I said earlier, 4 million.
So you're going 4. Ryan, you're going 1.6.
Yeah.
I think 1.2.
Oh, why am I in the middle?
2.93. So
Wait,
Cole again.
It's between
Yeah,
us
just
already. It's in the
about.
middle of us all.
Nah, I've lost.
Yeah, you've lost.
Second.
That's fair.
Unfortunately, I've lost. Ninja's got a fuck load, 4.25 milli.
Damn,
God.
son. Cheeky.
Everything he tweets goes viral by default.
Yeah, basically.
It's a weird thought.
Okay, a few more questions that we had. What do you think we can expect to see with tournaments and esports going into next year?
More
I think
money.
we're just going to see more, and we're going to see bigger. So we've got the DreamHacks, and we've got the RLCS, obviously. I think we're going to obviously see some E-League coming out of that as well. Hopefully, we'll see some more third-party stuff. Maybe there'll be like an epic Fortnite and Rocket League event. So like at the World Cup, they'll have like a Fortnite World Cup. They'll have a Rocket League section where it's like, oh yeah, that's $100,000 for that prize pool, because that's nothing to them, and they can just chuck that away like in the corner of a room. So hopefully there'll be a little bit of crossover with that. What do you guys hope for, Ryan? What's your thought?
The question is, right, are Psyonix not doing loads of tournaments or making massive prize pools? I mean, to be fair, I don't think prize pools even an issue. But like, do you think they're not making it bigger because they don't want to spend the money on it? Or is it because they just don't, as in they don't have the money to spend on it, or because they don't want to like spend too much and then overinflate it because they obviously want to like do it gradually?
I think it's diminishing returns. I think once say the limit is then $1 million, you hit $1 million. If you then go to 1.5 million, I don't think you get much more pull over the 1 million you've already put out. However,
yes, I agree.
If you go from 500,000 to 1 million, you're then getting a decent amount more pull for that $500,000 investment compared to the other $500,000 investment from 1 to 1.5 million. And I think then the jumps then become exponentially harder to get. From 1 million,
to 5 million,
it's then 1 to 5, then 5 to 10, and then 10 to 25. And it gets so much harder to get that amount of pull with that change of money.
Look at Fortnite. They went from 8 million in the summer skirmish to 10 million in the full skirmish to 100 million for the World Cup. So that was a bit different because it's through a season.
That is ludicrous.
Whoever wins the Fortnite World Cup gets $3 million just for themselves.
Yep.
Mental.
It's quite fun.
And they're immediately in like the top 10 of highest esports earners ever.
Really?
I think so. Like, we looked at it before where it was like, how much would you need to earn from these Fortnite competitions to then get into the like top amount of earners?
Yeah.
And the top earners, I think it's number 1 to 39 is Dota 2.
Dota, yeah.
Right? And if you won just a flat $3 million, you would be placed 10th highest overall earnings ever.
Goodness me.
For just
a bit
whoever
unfair,
wins that
really, doesn't
will be the 10th highest earnings in esports ever.
That bet seems a bit overkill.
Seeing as then the highest ever is in Dota 2 with Kuroki. He's at 4.1 million. So that's only 1.1 million above.
Just win 2 tournaments.
Win 2 tournaments and you've got then 33% more money than the highest ever.
Plus, that's just for the final. You've already made
mind.
loads of money all the way up to there. Like, to even get to the final of the World Cup, you'd have had to have won one of the $1 million weeklies.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, $1 million weekly, which I think you then get like 500k for winning it. You then get 50k just for qualifying. So really, you're getting 3,550,000, which then takes you to the 4th highest earning ever.
That's so stupid.
For winning a tournament.
Do you think that would happen in Rocket League then? Do you think they'd pump in a ridiculous amount of money?
Yeah.
Do you think they're just going to go, RCS is now 10 million?
Oh my god, imagine.
It would be so like, I don't know, it'd be funny, but like, I doubt it would do anything, to be honest.
No, I don't think they will. But
the thing is, then Psyonix would have to be like, go on then. And like,
it's not all.
But then would they be like, is this bad to do it? You know
Dave's
what I mean?
remortgaging.
That is true, Carl. You make a good point.
It's not all prize pools. So, Stumpy, you were saying that at some point the value of $500,000 goes down. If they go from 1 million to 1.5 million, no one's going to go, oh, watch it now. You know, that amount, I agree with you completely, doesn't make a difference. However, $500,000, which maybe wasn't on the table previously, but now may be on the table. Instead, that can go towards an EU studio or an increased season length or an EU sort of LAN, US LAN during season play. All that shit that we've been gagging for Christ knows how long. And who knows, maybe they're going to support community tournaments, just maybe, because the Renegade Cup. Well, the Renegade Cup
was a good start with the Renegade
was
Cup.
a great start, and they didn't just do it in its own, they didn't just do it by itself. It was invented to lead on to something, right? And when they made the Renegade Cup, this epic stuff would have been going on in the background. It was a testing phase. So they're not afraid to give their community tournaments money.
It was great. I love that. Yeah, it really showed off all the community stuff.
Yeah.
So hopefully there'll be more things like that where they can chuck a bit more money into it as well. Like the prize was $20,000 for the final, with then $5,000 per. I think it was $5,000 per. So in the end, it was $40,000, which is pretty good. That's about the same or a little bit less than the Season 1 RCS prize pool. And that's just for the third tier, in theory, at that point. So yeah, I think going off the original question, what do we think is going to happen with tournaments and esports going to next year? Bigger, more money, better, high production.
Harder, better, faster, stronger.
The Fortnite World Cup production blows my tiny little virgin mind. It is huge. The stuff they do for that is absolutely unreal. Their set design and the money they put at it is amazing. And if we can see anything like that for Rocket League, which is relatively thematic, me and Cole always suck off thematic games. So like Hearthstone. Hearthstone with their sets, right? I don't know if you've seen them much.
Yes, they're so good.
But like they've got the fireplaces, it's like a tavern. It's like all old beams and shit. It's amazing. And like League of Legends and Dota, they have like really, really good like AR, or they've got good projection mapping on the walls and shit. If we can have stuff like that for Rocket League, my God, that would be incredible. Imagine for a second, right? So you've got the copper box layout, so it's all around in a circle. You then have the players who are in a floating booth, right?
Right? Literally floating. Like, it's not effects. It is they spent millions of research, billions even, to research floating technology.
Yeah, so it's like it's hanging up whatever, and like they get down to it through like glass staircases into their like sides, and it's above the floor and it's suspended and it's a fully glass, it's fully open, right? It's amazing, and it's all soundproof or something, whatever. Then underneath that, on the floor, you've then got projection mapping of the game going on, right? So it's underneath them, in the middle of this arena, it's having the game projected from a top-down view. So it's like you've then got the depth of looking into the like game, which is looks like it's underneath, like a 3D type thing, underneath the floor. Fuck me, that would be brilliant. I would love that.
I want that. Let's do that. I'm ready.
How cool does that sound?
Wait. So you're literally watching a top-down view?
No. So you're not watching it. You're not necessarily just watching that. I'm saying you still get like the big screens that you get
good.
around
Okay,
the edge
good.
or whatever. But also you've then got in the middle of the arena, in like the square, you've then got a top-down view which you can then look at, and it looks like the game is happening beneath you.
That's quite funny.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
Epic,
I'm up for it.
At Epic Games.
Yeah, go on Epic Games. Do that if you can do that.
I've got one more final point. Maybe not quite as realistic as what you just said, Stumpy, but still worth chucking into the old
into the melting pot. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
floating.
Yeah, the floating shit-filled melting
suspended
pot
by wires.
Yeah. Suspended by.
And you have to climb ladders and stuff.
No. They have glass staircases from the ceiling.
Oh my God. Health and safety. They have to come in on wires because of health and safety.
What, they have to zip line in?
Yeah. Fireworks going up.
So what I was going to say is that Epic have got offices like all over the world as well.
Yeah.
They are not an NA-based company anymore. Epic are not NA. Well, they are NA-based, but what I mean is they're not an NA-only company. They've got offices in fucking all over Europe and all sorts. So hopefully, what I would love is for some of those guys, even if it's just a few of them, to be put full-time on Rocket League. Imagine that. Imagine if there were just 3 people whose job it was to do RL eSports just in EU. That already sort of adds 50% of the RL eSports totally hired people, and they're all in Europe.
I'm a little bit wet right now.
It's not that unfeasible.
I am dripping like an egg sandwich.
That's actually a good point because you know all the Fortnite esports tournaments. What like do they have many in Europe, or is it like I don't know where any of them are?
I don't know how European it is. They had the Katowice major in Europe, and that was third party, so that was already a departure because most of their stuff, as you mentioned earlier, is first party.
The production they use is American. That is Californian company. Same guys who do the RLCS, NGE. They also do the Fortnite World Cup.
They also had, so there's been a bit of controversy because payments haven't gone through, but that no doubt will be fixed. But they had the biggest tournament that Australia has ever seen in esports.
Prize money
wise, when they had an Australian sort of open tournament thing there. So Epic as a company are not afraid to support underfunded regions, which is
that would be amazing then.
If Psyonix push it forwards, we haven't had Shogun for 2 seasons because of this visa thing.
So long, yeah.
And they say, look, it's getting on our nerves now. They say, oh, just have an EU one then. You won't need to worry about there being issues now with visas because you can just use that EU talent.
Yeah, I mean, like that, and also the fact that we're not getting EU lands very often. Maybe, and I don't know exact reason, but if the issue is that it's more expensive and more difficult to like organize, firstly, if Epic aren't afraid to throw their money and be like, yo, just have an EU LAN, plus if they have offices all over the world, it's a lot easier for them to just arrange things in Europe, let's say with their European, wherever they're located around Europe, and they could just be like, all right, EU LAN here, we're going to do EU here, we can afford it, it's fine, we can organize it, we're literally, our offices are in here, and then we can just like, that'd be great if they can have EU LAN and NA and then EU, and maybe go, hey, let's go to Australia for a LAN, and everyone's like, oh, okay.
Or just have an off tournament in Australia.
It doesn't even have to be the RLCS, it can just be
not even an RLCS LAN, just say, we're going to be going to, there's like IEM Sydney where they do the CSGO. They have had side tournaments previously for the for Fortnite. So again, they say, we're going to also have Rocket League and Fortnite here, and then that's a $100,000 tournament suddenly that's in Australia. That would be fucking huge, and it would also make CJ very rich. So I like that.
Yes, that's a good shout.
Yeah. But there's so much good that can come out of it, and I appreciate, and I think we all respect that there is a lot of people being careful to hinder their expectations, but also there's a lot of people being unjustly negative. I think this is a good move for Rocket League eSports at the end of the day, and I hope it does go well. And if it doesn't, at least it's different.
I think it's a move that had to be made. I think without this, Rocket League was going to stick around the same level it was at. It was not growing. It was not increasing. The numbers were not going up. New people weren't falling in love with Rocket League eSports. It was just staying the same. And it's been fundamentally the same for such a long time. I think that, for me, I'm not going to judge anything until after this season of RLCS. There won't be any immediate changes. But going forward to Season 8 of RLCS, that's when I'm going to start keeping a close eye out on those tiny, minute details and seeing what's changed.
Final thoughts, Ryan?
You guys put it very elegantly. I think the only thing I'd add is, I've as we've gone on this conversation and as I've slept on it, I have grown more in favor of this decision. Honestly, the only thing that main negative is the exclusivity on the store. But I think now that we've been talking a lot about it, I think that is far outweighed by the potential positives. And we've always wanted change, so I'm looking forward to the change, and hopefully we get loads of updates really quickly and bugs get fixed really quickly, because that'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be lovely.
There we go.
Well, if you guys have any thoughts on what we've spoken about in this podcast, make sure you let us know. We're going to put it on YouTube, so let us know in the YouTube comments. It's also always on Spotify and iTunes, so you can listen to it on that. Probably should have said that at the start. Sorry, lads. You can go back and listen to the rest of them on there. And also we're going to post it to Reddit, so please tear us apart on Reddit. Anybody whose username we've mentioned by name, sorry in advance. But otherwise, thank you for joining us, Ryan. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
That's all right. Everybody probably follows you on Twitter already, but do you want to plug your Twitter?
My Twitter is Doomsee with 3 E's. No, yes, it is 3 E's on Twitter. Because
you need to buy
flawless
it's not even like I've tried to talk about it, but they won't let me. Even though it's been like now the account is now blocked. It's like gone. It's been deleted.
Jerks.
So suspended. Bloody hell. Okay.
Yeah, but it still can't take it. So
that's harsh.
Jerks.
All right. Thank you for listening, everybody. Any opinions you guys have, make sure that you let us know in the comments on the various platforms this is going to. Otherwise, join us for the next podcast.
Bye, everyone. Bye.